going on, guys? It's your boy Eric Bandholz. Why don't you come and take a walk with me? So today I want to talk about probably one of the most challenging things to do at all, and that's communicate. Communication is probably something that I kind of actually struggle with, like I think a lot of people do. And I'm fortunate that the people who stick around me can be patient enough to listen to what I have to say and understand the way I communicate and can kind of like connect the dots. For whatever reason, I don't speak in a linear fashion. My brain kind of like jumps around from point to point, topic to topic, and having a flow for something's like very, very challenging for me. I don't know, I'm self-diagnosed as slightly dyslexic. Reading's pretty hard to me, and I think anyone who's really gotten to know me will see that. And I don't know if you guys can tell or not in my videos. A couple of times I'll also like stumble over words where I'll get certain words confused. One of my famous quotes, I think, is where, and that is how you brush your comb, or something like that. That's how you comb your brush. In one of my videos over on the Beard Brand channel. But I digress. This topic isn't really about technically how to communicate, like how to put words together and stuff like that. It's more about how to listen to the person you're communicating with, how to understand what they're talking about, and how to be able to build more or less build that trust that is needed to have good communication. One of my favorite books is a book by Dale Carnegie called How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I think this book is probably one of the greatest out there for improving your communication techniques. I learned a lot about the way he communicates, and with proper optimal type of communication, you can really inspire people to to open up and to work with you and to, I'm not going to say perform better, because they could perform great, but really what it's doing is it's allowing you guys to get on the same page, work together, work through any issues in a non-confrontational way, and then achieve your goals. And that's ultimately what communication is about. I got something up here in my brain, and I want to get it to you, put it in your brain, so that we're on the same page and we can go together and work on whatever we're working on. One of the techniques that Dale talks about is, rather than using the term but, you use the term and. So it'd be, an example would be, you've really done a good job putting this paperwork together, but I think you can do better by doing this, this, and this. And a better way to say that would be, hey, I think you've done a really good job putting these files together, and I think you're going to be able to step up your game even more by doing this. And it's just like that one little word, changing but to and, has a tremendous effect on how that person's going to react to your comment, to your suggestion, to what you're trying to say. And it's, people will handle communication differently. I, especially as I've grown in my role as an entrepreneur, I've really appreciated direct communication to the point of being blunt, getting to the point, and avoiding any kind of fluff and jargon. Whereas maybe in a different environment, that type of rapport building, or that type of shooting the shit, is going to be quite beneficial to what you're doing. So I don't know who's sillier, me walking here, talking to a camera, or a couple girls doing some kind of arm squat things. I don't know what those are called. Dips. Doing some dips. So anyways, I'm talking about communication points. And of course I'm struggling here communicating to you guys today, ironically or not ironically at all. I want to tell you guys a story about a time I implemented some of these techniques. I do think that men and women at a general level or a mass level are inherently different people, and they respond to things differently. Guys tend to be problem solvers, and women tend to want to connect through emotions. And I think one's not right or wrong, and one's not better or different. It's just when you put a guy and a girl together, you can struggle with the communication aspect of things. So my wife and I used to get in a lot of arguments early on around work. She'd come in and she'd say, this is going on in the office, and my boss is doing this, and my coworker's doing that, and it's just crazy and it's terrible, and da da da. And I'd be like, whoa, did you try this? Whoa, did you try this? Did you try that? Did you try this? And as a guy, when I lay out my issues, I love that stuff. It's like, oh yeah, man, that's a great idea. Let me try to implement it. Let me try to get it going. But from my wife's perspective, I was not being a help at all, because she didn't want that. She knew what she needed to do. She knew the solution to everything. But what she wanted to do was just unload and let the stress off, and she just wanted someone to hear me. And I couldn't get that. For the first year of her marriage, and of course that was after dating for a while too, I just didn't understand. And then I don't know where I read it, or maybe it was a Dale Carnegie book, but I took this suggestion of not trying to fix it, not trying to solve the problem, and instead just trying to listen and empathize. And sure enough, that very day she came back. She had a crap day at work. She started complaining about one of her coworkers. She was rambling on, and then of course instead of fixing it, I decided, all right, I want to try this new technique, see how it works. And I said, yeah, that bitch is crazy. And the moment I said that, my wife, she just completely eased out, the stress was gone, and she's like, yes. And then that was it. That was it. That was the end of the conversation. That's all she needed, was for me to understand that she had a shitty day, and here's why it was shitty, and just listen. So understanding the other end and the purpose of communication is going to be a beneficial tool for you to understand whether you just need to consult people, or if you just need to listen, if you just need to, be ears, because no one wants to talk to a wall, and no one wants to talk to a camera while they're walking around. They'd rather talk to somebody. So that's going to be a skill that does take a little bit of time to get going. I mean, it's going to be hard work to figure out what exactly is what, excuse me, it's going to be tough to find out what exactly the other person wants. And here's the thing though, you can ask them. You can ask them what they want. You say, hey, would you like me to help you with this problem? Or, hey, tell me more about that. Literally, I could say, hey, do you want me to help you solve this problem? And my wife would be like, nah, I know what to do. I just want to talk about it. Boom. That's so much of it. Now, another big challenge with communication, especially in relationships that have extended for a number of months, a number of years, is you start to get into your roles and your habits and kind of the daily routine of things. And from there, to a certain degree, you've got to force yourself to communicate. You've got to force yourself to open up and to have that dialogue, because if you don't release the things that are in your head and you keep it, and then they'll build up over time. And if they build up over time, you'll start to have resentment. And what happens is the person who you want to be communicating these thoughts to, they don't hear what's going on in your brain. They don't know what your thoughts are, and they don't know what's building up. So it's very unfair to that person to have those thoughts and not to communicate it to them. And even if that topic is challenging, you either need to vent it directly to that person, or you need to find a trusted confidant who you can relate it to. And I think that's probably why therapists are in demand, and they will always be in demand, is because they lend that opening ear where you can maybe vent some of your thoughts, work through those thoughts, have them cleared up and straightened out without having to have that confrontation with the other person, and being able to resolve it on your own rather than resolving it directly to them in a confrontational way. So everyone's different, but it's required. I know from a business perspective, our relationship with my business partners, I mean, it's that communication aspect is challenging. It's a lot of hard work, and of course business is stressful. One of the things that we agreed to do is always be respectful to each other, even if we don't agree on various things, and try to come across in a way that we can focus on the issues at hand rather than the person. And that's probably the final tip I want to leave you guys with, is that you want to try to communicate in a way that isn't accusatory, right? You want to communicate in a way that doesn't allow the person to put up their guard or put up their defenses. You want to communicate in a way that they open up and work with you rather than shut down. So ways that you can do that is, first of all, take off the name calling. That's never an appropriate way to communicate, by calling someone names, and you're never going to win anyone over to your way of thinking if you call them names. You're just effectively neutering yourself from successful communication, and you're spreading hate. From there, it's like using terms like "you did this, you did that," rather than giving them the benefit of doubt of letting themselves out, where you said, hey, this issue wasn't met. What can we do to solve that issue? Rather than, you dropped the ball on this issue. Why did you do it? This is essentially saying the exact same thing, but you give that person the ability to save face, which builds a stronger rapport with you, which allows them to be energized to work with you to solve the issue, rather than find alternatives to go somewhere else to find that person who can communicate in that way. So I hope I was able to get a couple nuggets out for you guys. Appreciate the walks as always. Cheers, and walk on.